TIL Gerald Terhorst was Gerald Ford's press secretary for only a month. He resigned after Ford granted Nixon a pardon, which he found especially unconscionable in light of Ford's refusal to pardon draft dodgers during the Vietnam War. Today it seems unbelievable to me that people in those days used to resign because of conscience. Feels like a different universe altogether. If Nixon hadn't been pardoned, Trump likely wouldn't have had the balls to try the BS he did, and we wouldn't find ourselves where we are now. There would have been precedent. Fuck. What's a piece of normalcy we won't see again post-COVID? Businesses running on a full staff. Reasonable prices for anything. Walmart and big grocery stores being open 24 hours. Musk keeps amplifying the impeachment of judges who rule against his DOGE policies, so what do any constitutional Republicans have to say about that? They have no idea this is happening. They think it's fake news, and if they get cornered they'll say the system is so corrupt that Musk and Trump are the only options to help save our government. They can't play by the rules. BC, the rules were already broken. They have blind faith in their saviors. Like they do in their gods. Republican here. Musk is an idiot and no one elected him. He shouldn't have this power. Redditors, how do you feel a grassroots political movement dedicated solely towards ruining Elon Musk's life specifically would fare? Or just take that time and effort and join an activist organization not dedicated solely to one person. This is one of the most Reddit things I have ever read. On Reddit, probably pretty successful. In reality, completely pointless and ineffectual. What historical fact did you learn in school, that later turned out to be completely wrong or misrepresented? Early 90s in Sweden I learned about a testupa, the Viking practice of seniors throwing themselves / being thrown down cliffs when they could no longer sustain themselves / contribute to the commune. They did not. In 7th grade my geography teacher taught us that China had such a big population because of the Asian monsoons, which basically means the rain season. Didn't get it? As my teacher explained, China had a big population because, due to the rain, couples would stay inside more, get bored and fuck to pass the time, leading to more children being born. She even asked this in a test. I'm a teacher, so I like to check myself when I say something that they're surprised by. Recently I found out that black widow spiders only eat their mates in captivity, and it's actually not common. 5th grade, 1990. Teacher tells the class all of the Central American countries are Spanish-speaking. My aunt had just returned from Belize and I rose my hand and said Belize is officially English-speaking. Teacher says no, they are all Spanish. To foot by eating a pancake that went bad in my car and discovering I had cancer. Yeah, you're damn lucky you went to hospital and they discovered all the other things wrong with you. R/failed successfully, I guess. Also, sorry you had to deal with all of that. My sister had ovarian and uterus problems from a young age, and now doesn't have any reproductive organs because of it. Luckily you found out about the creepy tumor babies before the pain started. It is awful. Took 3 ER visits for them to finally take mine out, only lost 1 ovary. Mine also had hair, and brain tissue. Grimacing face. Speedy recovery to you, friend Red Heart. Till that before Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito faced bankruptcy after his divorce and he considered suicide by arranging his own murder to provide insurance money for his children. A realization about missing their lives stopped him. He persevered and found success as Gus Fring. It's crazy considering after Breaking Bad, he basically became typecast as a villain and got a bunch of roles for that. A heartbreaking story. Glad he stayed. The world is better with him in it. LPT, if you skip the Super Bowl it's a perfect opportunity to go out to busy places. I worked at a grocery store for years and Super Bowl night was always the most dead night of the year, along with any night of a big rivalry football game. I can so remember watching how slowly that clock moved while there were less than 5 customers in our massive store. Conversely, about 4 to 5 hours before the game starts was always one of the busiest of the year, so if you need to grocery shop today, expect that if you're going early. My family and I used to go to the Six Flags every Super Bowl Sunday, and there's nothing like the joy of being able to ride a roller coaster and run through the lines and immediately get back on the same one. I used to test to see if sitting in the front or the back felt different. My mom, sisters, and I go to a Broadway show every year during the Super Bowl. If we get tickets days of, there's usually lots of choices. Till that a lot of soldiers during WW2 were using and abusing hard drugs. Japanese, American, and British forces consumed large amounts of amphetamines, but the Germans were the most enthusiastic early adopters, pioneering pill popping on the battlefield during the initial phases of the war. When I was 6 or so, I read The Great Raid, and how the Rangers were given amphetamines after so they could keep moving while the Japanese were chasing them. Around that same time, my great aunt was dying, and the way her illness was explained to me was her heart wasn't beating fast enough. So I asked my parents why we couldn't just give her meth to increase her heart rate. Still doing it? Read stories of pilots taking uppers before missions in Iraq and downers after to help them sleep. A rested army is a winning army. Keep them awake when they need to be awake and get them to sleep when you want them to sleep. We did the same thing in Vietnam, supplied hundreds of millions of dexedrine pills that had the troops on super high alert. Dexedrine was just another form of speed. They all basically do the same shit. TIL, that naturally 1 out of every 6,400 hydrogen atoms in water is a deuterium atom. It forms a heavy water molecule with a slightly sweet taste and is safe in low amounts, but you will die if more than 50% of your body's H2O is replaced by D2O. How would I be looking at 49%? Then there's tritium, which is 10-18% of hydrogen. It forms super heavy water and is radioactive. To food by giving my kids Starbucks lemonade. Putting aside the fact you had no clue what was in the beverage, who is buying a 4-year-old a large-sized beverage of any kind? That's crazy to me. Why would you get a 4-year-old child a large? Also, large. For a preschooler. Maybe a teenager, but a freaking 4-year-old. Dude. TIL actress Sean Young was so desperate to win the role of Catwoman in Batman Returns, she made a homemade Catwoman costume and attempted to contact Tim Burton and Michael Keaton. When that didn't work, she appeared on the Joan Rivers show as Catwoman pleading to Tim Burton for the role. In the 70s my grandmother made my brother and I Batman and Robin costumes for Christmas. She was pretty good with a needle and thread. Unfortunately she was going off the Batman show on TV and her TV was black and white, so our costumes were black and white. Fortunately, many people's TVs at the time were black and white, so it didn't really matter. She was so good in Stripes and Blade Runner. She's an odd duck. I remember seeing her appearance on the Joan Rivers show. The poor woman seemed unhinged. TIL French cyclist Jean Robic would cheat in the Tour de France downhill sections by having an assistant give him a lead or mercury-filled water bottle for the descent. Because of this his nickname was the heavy metal descender. Dude should have just taken artificial testosterone like a normal person. You don't want to fuck up there and drink from the mercury bottle. How long until someone gets busted for motors? What's the prettiest name you have ever heard? I was in the Navy with a guy named David Rainwater. Every woman we came into contact with in the SEPS unit had to stop and remark how beautiful his name was. He also had ice blue eyes and was super conventionally handsome. This was 12 years ago and I've since gotten married, but I still fear that he's gonna show up and effortlessly steal my woman. Watching Anne of Green Gables as a child and encountering the character Emmeline, I fell in love with both the name and had a little crush on the character. I thought it was the prettiest name ever. I still do. One of my great-grandmas was called Minty, shortened from Araminta. POV, you don't see your name in the comments and now you sad. Like and subscribe.